Welcome back. Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're going on a slightly different kind of adventure. It's almost like a digital archaeological dig. You know, normally in these explainers, we're dissecting dense research papers, massive datasets, or really sprawling articles. But today, our source material is, well, it's a total anomaly. We are looking at a completely empty, completely broken page right in the middle of the world's largest video platform. It's a channel known simply as Cartoon. Specifically, the handle is @cartoons_s8v. Now, on the surface, you'd think there is absolutely nothing here. But if we actually analyze the structure of this emptiness, we uncover this surprisingly compelling story about how massive automated systems behave when their core purpose just totally vanishes. So, we're going to look at the anatomy of a digital void. And I promise you, the sheer absence of information here is just as revealing as the presence of it.
Now, despite the absolute emptiness of this channel, despite the fact that we're basically staring into a digital blank space, take a look at this. There is exactly one subscriber. Just one. And honestly, this totally mundane, tiny little detail is actually incredibly profound. Think about it. It's a single tether, this lonely anchor connecting this absolute void to a real human action somewhere out there in the world. Someone at some point in time actually navigated to this exact page, looked at it, and deliberately decided to click subscribe. But why? Like, was it a total accident? Or was there actually content here once upon a time that's just been wiped from existence? That solitary number one is literally the only proof we have that this space ever had any kind of pulse at all.
And right below that lonely little subscriber count, we find just a wonderful piece of interface irony. The platform helpfully offers a link that says more about this channel, more. You know the one. It's that standard prompt we see everywhere, normally promising a rich backstory, outside links, maybe a business email or a creator's bio. But the irony here is just palpable. It's offering us an expansion into a space where there is absolutely nothing left to discover. The interface is just operating on pure, blind habit. It's promising depth and narrative for a channel that's been completely hollowed out.
To really wrap our heads around this void, we have to look at the borders containing it. We've got the Home button, the Shorts tab, the Subscriptions feed, Watch Later, and even that highly advanced Search with Your Voice feature. What we're really looking at is the highly functional, incredibly bustling architecture of a multi-billion-dollar platform acting as this surviving shell around an entirely missing core. It's kind of like finding a perfectly intact, super high-tech picture frame, but the canvas has been completely ripped out. The whole infrastructure for discovery and consumption is fully operational, just sitting there waiting to deliver content that simply does not exist.
Which brings us to the stark reality of the whole situation, perfectly summarized by a single system message. This channel doesn't have any content. This right here is the central conflict of our explainer today. We are looking at a platform that was exclusively engineered from the ground up to host, deliver, and monetize media. And yet, it's being forced to clearly and plainly confess its own emptiness. The deadpan gravitas of this simple sentence, especially when you contrast it against such an intricate, complex user interface, it really highlights a total failure of the primary mission. Basically, it's a massive library announcing over a loudspeaker that it doesn't have any books.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens to an automated system when the actual payload completely disappears. I like to call this the phantom engagement loop. Because look, the user interface is still aggressively pushing all these standard steps. It wants us to sign in. It prompts us to subscribe. And hey, as we saw earlier, one person actually did. The broken video player is urging us to tap to unmute. And finally, it even offers a button to watch full video. The UI is completely blind to the reality of the situation. It just relentlessly asks users to perform all the standard steps for engagement, perfectly executing its programming despite the complete and utter lack of a video to watch or listen to. It's literally a ghost loop.
Let's put this into even sharper focus by comparing the language being used here. On one side, we have the interface's active, super optimistic demands, right? Things like tap to unmute, share, include playlist. These are verbs of action, of community, of sharing. But then, on the exact same page, we have the harsh reality of the system's backend experiencing a total, catastrophic breakdown. Messages like, an error occurred, or your browser can't play this video. It is such a fascinating juxtaposition. The front-end design is desperately trying to be helpful and social, while the back-end engineering is essentially just throwing its hands in the air and admitting total defeat.
Okay, but my absolute personal favorite part of this entire digital ruin. The system proudly displays this message: if playback doesn't begin shortly, try restarting your device. I mean, you really have to appreciate the technological audacity here. The system has completely lost the video file, the channel is completely barren, the back end is throwing up multiple errors left and right, and yet its automated knee-jerk response is to politely suggest that maybe, just maybe, the problem is actually your computer. It is this delightfully absurd moment where the architecture attempts to blame the user's device for its own fundamental lack of content.
Wait, the breakdown doesn't even stop at the video player. Digging into the source page reveals another message. An error occurred while retrieving sharing information. Please try again later. And this tells us something really vital about how these massive platforms are constructed. The content itself is the bedrock foundation. When that foundation is missing, all the secondary metadata layers, the ability to generate a share link, the ability to add it to a playlist, all the social graphing, the whole shebang completely collapses. You just can't build a bridge over nothing. The architecture relies on that original media file to generate all the metadata. Without it, the entire ecosystem of that specific page simply shatters into pieces.
So the crucial point is how this absolute failure ultimately manifests in the very language of computers. Right at the bottom of the broken video player on this cartoon channel, we see the letters NaN. NaN. Now, this stands for not a number. It's a really standard computing concept used to represent an undefined or unrepresentable value. For instance, if you ask a computer to divide 0 by 0, it's going to give you NaN. In the context of our explainer today, this is the ultimate mathematical expression of our digital ghost town. The system desperately tried to calculate the parameters of this missing video, and the only answer it could possibly return was that the concept itself is completely unrepresentable.
And that leads us to the final and, honestly, most surreal error we see. Just consider the timeline parameters for a second. 00/live/nan/nan. This final error code proves that inside the borders of this specific channel, time and data have themselves become totally undefined. Think about what it's saying. It claims to be at the exact 0-second mark of a live broadcast, while simultaneously stating that the current timestamp and the total duration are not a number. It's literally a paradox right there on the screen. The video player hasn't just failed to load a file, its very sense of time, progression, and reality has effectively ceased to exist.
Now, this cartoon channel is just one isolated, broken link, but looking at its anatomy reveals just how much complex machinery totally relies on the simple presence of human-created content to actually function. Which leaves us with a massive, almost unsettling thought to walk away with. If a platform is this impossibly vast and we already know millions of channels are created and then abandoned every year, we really have to ask, how many billion dead digital spaces exactly like this one make up the hidden dark matter of the internet? How many phantom engagement loops are currently running in the dark out there asking 0 subscribers to unmute a video that doesn't even exist? It's a fascinating mystery of our modern infrastructure. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.